What's up guys and welcome back to Tech Plant. I used to think Hoya collectors were kind of weird and strange, but here we are. I'm showing you my Hoya collection. Let's check it out. Alright, so this is a video I thought I would never actually make because, believe it or not, I didn't really like Hoyas, nor did I really care about them, but I just kept receiving them in trades and through other methods, and now I have a whole bunch and I'm starting to like them. So I'm just going to kind of go through my collection and show you everything I got, and maybe it'll even inspire you to pick up some of these Hoyas. So let's check them out. This first one is going to be the Hoya Pubicalyx Splash variety. This one I did get about a year ago from a really nice and awesome person. I'll do a video about all the plants I got from him in the future, but for now that's when I got this about a year ago, and you can see it's doing quite well. The two things I really love about this plant is it has kind of a silvery speckle on the leaves, and the newer leaves are really dark purple, and they're absolutely beautiful as they kind of grow out and turn into mature leaves. At first, I wasn't really good at raising these and they didn't really grow much at all, but once I made it happy, it really took off, and a lot of this growth is from only like 1 or 2 months ago. This next one is exactly the same species, however this one just hasn't grown as well. Maybe I didn't get it as happy as it could be, or it's just choosing to kind of grow outward instead of take a vine and go upwards, if that makes any sense. The one you saw earlier really extended out long on some vines, where this one is staying a little more compact. However, when I look at the coloration or those like speckles that are on the leaves, these feel a little more pink to me, which is kind of odd because the other ones are a little more gray silver. So I don't know if these all just have a slight variance in color, but I like that this one is still pretty unique compared to the other one. This one does have a lot of new growth though, now that I kind of figured out how to take care of these. This third one is actually the same exact species as the previous two, and I promise these will be the only doubles that you'll see in this video. However, this one is much different. The splash, or like that little color variation, is really extreme on some of these newer leaves. I don't know what I did to get it to do that, or if I'm just lucky with this plant, but it is absolutely covered. If you don't have this Hoya, I definitely recommend it. It's a very vigorous grower and it just has really pretty leaves, and I think it's pretty easy to care for compared to some of the more difficult ones. This next one is totally different. This is a Crimson Queen, not to be confused with the Crimson Princess, which I will be showing later on in this video. The best difference that you can find and identify between the Queen and the Princess is going to be the variegated part. The white will actually border the outside of the leaves for the Queen, and the Princess it'll be on the inside. This one is kind of similar to the previous one in the sense that the newer leaves are that very dark purple, and again I think it's absolutely beautiful, and you can really see the pink kind of around the border and the variegated part as the leaves are new. When they mature, it'll turn a little more white. This one actually has a few different stems that are pretty different. Some are really green with just a thin border, but other ones are mostly white with just a little bit of inner green. So I hope all the different branches continue to grow that way, and maybe I can try and take some cuttings and kind of force those cuttings to form plants that kind of mirror those attributes. Next up is my most oddest Hoya, and that is going to be Hoya Meredithii. This one is super slow growing for me, and it has these really hard leathery leaves. This one is actually the hardest for me to get to grow. I've had growth start on this one 2 times and I've accidentally killed them off, and as of recently I had a brand new little baby leaf, and I just looked at it when I started recording this audio, and it broke off and died. So I just cannot get new leaves to start. This thing has looked the same for over a year. I really hope one day I can get some new growth, because I'd love to see what the new leaves look like when they get about half size as they're starting to mature. Because again, these leaves are so hard on this plant, it is ridiculous. Next up is the Crimson Princess, which I did tell you guys about before. And again, this one you can differentiate from the Queen because the variegation is in the center of the leaf and it is kind of rimmed by the green color. Kind of like the Queen, the Princess will get kind of a pink inside where the white is, just how the Queen got the pink on the outside on the immature leaves as they grow, and it's really cool. I would love to combine a pot with the Queen and the Princess just because it would be pretty neat looking, because they're kind of contrasting in differences. Next up is going to be called the Hindu Rope. These were actually really popular, and you could find some of these in big box stores, and a lot of people were trying to get a hold of them. I do have one that I got about a year ago that's only just died and gotten smaller, so hopefully I can keep this one alive. But this one is characterized by having really crinkly leaves, and sometimes they're really compact. Next up is Hoya Carnosa Green. This one is actually pretty cool, and I got this one in a trade. This one is very similar to the first species I sent, but it's much rounder and much larger. If you look at some of these more mature leaves, they're huge. These are pretty new cuttings though, so hopefully they start to put out some new growth soon, but they're looking pretty healthy. Next up is Hoya Retusa. I got this one about a year ago, again from that same person who sent me the other ones. This one I've had really good luck with, and then it's died back and come back again, and that process has happened over and over again over the course of the last year, but now it's doing pretty good. Of all of them, this one probably has the strangest leaves because they're hardly even leaves. They're just tiny, little thin stick-like things coming out of the vine, but it is super unique compared to most of them. So I do really like this one. Honestly, this Hoya actually kind of looks a little dead, but again, it is a very interesting look, so I do like it. I did lie earlier saying there wouldn't be any doubles. This again is the Hindu rope, but this one is a lot more curly and compact compared to the one you saw earlier. You can also see new growth on this one is also pretty like deep purple, but this one is struggling. I've had this for an entire year. For whatever reason, Hoyas seem really hard to get growing smoothly, and like unless you can do that, they just kind of keep starting dying. But luckily, they seem to never completely die off. This last one is Hoya Shepherdii. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. The double I thing always confuses me. But anyways, this one is pretty unique compared to the other ones as well because the leaves are very narrow. They are just plain green, but their growth pattern alone is pretty nice. I also did get this one in a trade, that's why there isn't a lot of new growth on it yet, because these were cuttings that have been rooted. Once it starts growing, it's going to look really cool because there is a decent spacing in the nodes, along with these really long slender leaves, and it just makes for a really pretty Hoya. Well guys, that pretty much sums up this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope seeing all these different Hoyas might have got you intrigued in them, or you might have found a few that you want to add to your collection as well. They are a ton of fun, and once you get them growing and happy, they really take off, and it's really cool to see them produce new leaves. As always guys, may your plants grow strong and healthy. I will see you next time.